All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where it is you are chiming in from. I am extremely excited to talk with you all today about this specific webinar. And actually, it's not going to be me who's doing the talking for a change here. It's going to be our CEO, Mike Cobb. But before we get started, find that Q&A section of your control panel. This is where you'll type in your questions, but right now type in where it is you're calling in from. I'd love to see that. I know we've had such an international audience previously. And this webinar, I believe we had close to 900 people who registered for it. I know that those people are all over the world. So find that Q&A section. Let us know where you're calling in from. I'm going to read a couple of those out loud as people do get tuned in here to Zoom. Sometimes it takes a minute or two to load. All right, so we have James. He is in Rico, Florida. JD in Maryland. Crystal, Iowa. David is in Bora Bora. That is awesome. We have Deb in Canada. Ali in Ambergris Key, Belize. Jenica, Florida. Martin in Holland. Anonymous attendee is in Atlanta, Georgia. Walt is in Mexico. Edward is in Philadelphia. Joe is in Pittsburgh. Donald, Washington, D.C. We have New River, Arizona. Florida, New York, Spain, awesome. Montreal, Texas, Alberta, Tennessee, Ireland. Just says Joe is from Joe. All right. Then we have California, New Mexico, Netherlands, Phoenix, West Palm Beach, Maryland, Montreal, Mexico, Alberta. There's a really international group here, and I'm not going to go through all hundreds. I don't want to bore you all with that, but do know that there are people calling in from all over the world, and sometimes they just happen to be right around the corner from you. So maybe you heard someone who's close by there. But we're going to get started now. And again, I'm really excited about this presentation here because this is the one that a lot of people are anticipating, which is what's going on with ECI development, and also what does the future look like for you, whether you're looking at this from the shareholder perspective, or perhaps you're looking at ownership of property with ECI development. Do know that there's always something going on in the horizon. And in this presentation here, Mike, our CEO, is going to go through that with you. So Mike is, as I mentioned, the CEO. He's also one of the co-founders of the organization. About 25 years now, ECI has been in existence, which is really quite impressive. I know that the company has an incredible track record of success in Latin America, in the marketplace here, and only continues to become more successful with all the additional projects that are coming on board and just many opportunities. So we're going to go through a lot of information over the next hour here. What I'm going to do is be quiet and let Mike Cobb take the reins. And Mike, why don't you get started?
I will. Thank you, Rachel. I think this is the first time I have ever heard Bora Bora mentioned as where somebody's tuning in from. So very exciting. The number of folks who have registered for these webinars has continued to increase, and it's always nice to hear so many people coming in from all over the world to be a part of what we're doing. So we're going to jump right into it. And as Rachel mentioned, there are a couple things going on. One is if you're interested in investment specifically, there are many ways to make investments in the region. You can own a home, you can own a condominium, you can own a property, you can own an agricultural investment. There are many ways to get involved and do investments in the region. One way that we don't hear about very often is to own part of a company that's doing development in the region. And that is the specific opportunity we're going to talk about today. But in that context, what we're also going to talk about are the different communities, the different properties. And if you are someone who's thinking about owning a piece of property with us, you want to own a condominium in Belize, for example, this particular presentation is a great way for you to do due diligence on our company. And I hope you want to do the due diligence, right? If you're going to make an investment of a couple $100,000 or more for a property, I think you want to know who we are, how we do business, and this presentation is a great way to do that. If you're strictly looking for investment, maximum return on investment, owning shares of our company may be something that you would want to consider. The one caveat, the one thing I have to say up front is that the ownership of shares of our company is limited to accredited investors. Rachel and her team have those very clear definitions. They'll be happy to provide them to you. If you meet those definitions of accredited investor, then we would certainly welcome sending you copies of the business plan, the PPM, and having a conversation about owning shares of our company. If you're not an accredited investor or you're wondering if you are, reach out to Rachel. She can send you the paperwork so you can see. But again, this is a great opportunity to learn more about who we are as a company, how we do business, and why you might want to own a piece of real estate with us in that case. So we're going to get started. Our mission statement is pretty straightforward: developing affordable luxury residences throughout Central and South America. But the real bottom line is that we create these incredible inspired residences for adventurous souls. And Rachel mentioned that, we like to go through that little roll call at the beginning of where people are from, because, no matter where you're from, if you're on this webinar, if you're looking for property overseas, you are an adventurous soul. And what we've done is we've built communities for adventurous souls. Yes, inspired residences, but far more important, communities where you can come, you can gather, you can enjoy the company of other adventurous souls. And quite honestly, that's truly the most fun that we have. Rachel mentioned we've been around for almost 25 years. We were established in 1996. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, September 1st, we will be officially 25 complete years old. So very exciting. We're working in Belize, Nicaragua, Panama, Costa Rica. We've got an exciting project in El Salvador we're going to talk about tonight as well. And we've got projects in Mexico coming up later in the year. So again, we've been around a long time. We've been doing this for a long time. And it's in the doing that we learn and we gain that experience that we can bring to the next communities that we build. We like to listen to clients. We believe that we've taken the sales paradigm and turned it on its head. Because we have so many different products and so many different geographies, we're able to listen to what clients want and then serve them with that product. And it allows us to be relevant in many, many, many marketplaces. And we'll talk more about that later. Again, we've been around for 24 years. This is our 25th year of business. We do plan to take the company public for a nice return on investment for folks who get involved. It is a diversified portfolio of real estate. One investment in ECI is today an investment in property that we own in 4 countries and property that we're developing in a co-development relationship in 5. So again, very diversified throughout the region, hard asset investment. And it is possible to own shares of ECI inside your IRA. As you can see, this chart all the way on the left side goes all the way back to 1996. The share price was $2.50. We acquired the properties in Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Belize. We acquired some more properties in Belize. We signed a contract with Marriott. And so the share price has climbed as we've added value and assets to our company from $2.50 to where it is today at $17.60. We've got additional milestones coming up, and they're compressing because we are expanding rapidly at this point. The groundbreaking of the Marriott, the acquisition and the rollout of the Mexico project. El Salvador is not even on here. Other Costa Rican properties. And what's going to happen over the next couple of years is the share price is going to go from $17.60 where it is today to probably $35-ish before the IPO, at which point it should significantly grow and produce the kind of return of 6-8 times your investment at that point. But again, we've taken the long road to get here. Good, steady, conservative growth, and you see that. Now we're taking that growth. We've built the foundation, and we're expanding rapidly to get to the next level, which is to take the company public. And by the way, I think a lot of times people think going public is this end point. It's actually not the end point for the founders of the company. The founders of the company see the IPO and the public offering as really the starting bell for this race, the next part of the race, the big part of the race. And what we've done to date and what we'll do over the next couple of years leading up to an IPO is really the warm-up exercises for when it really gets exciting as a public company, being able to do what we already do at a much greater scale. So certainly if you decide you want to own shares and make the investment, that's great. And at the IPO, you want to liquidate, that's fine too. But many folks plan to hold on to their shares long term for the dividend flow that the company will produce. Again, just some things that we've been working on that are coming to fruition right now. The Marriott in Belize is now funded. Very, very exciting to have that funded. We'll be ordering the steel here shortly, beginning the prep work. So this is happening, and it's been a long time coming for those of you who've been hearing about it. But again, slow, steady growth. We don't start anything until we know we can finish it. And we wanted to make sure we had all the money in place to finish the Marriott before we started. We now do. Again, you can see site prep on the property leading up to what we will be building here over the next couple of years in Belize. 2020, early 2021, incredible milestones, condominium sales, tiny home sales. We in the last 12 months, we've taken orders and reservations for over 100 properties. We've already started construction on about 60 of those. Again, things are moving, things are happening, great milestones. 2019 gross sales about 3.5 million. 2020, our best year ever, 9.5 million. By June of this year, we had already done more than we did in all of last year, which was our best year ever. We're anticipating sales of between 20 and $25 million this year, with a strong pipeline of sales into 2022 and beyond. All right, so we're going to get into some of the weedy stuff here. The company, the holding company that you will own shares is Exotic Key International. It owns land assets, which are the ones on the bottom, the Grand Caribbean, Grand Pacifica, San Pedro Club is in Belize, the Exotic Key Beach Resorts in Belize, the Tropical Highlands in Panama, a small percentage of Leaf, Simon, and Kathy Petticord's project in Panama, Los Islotes. These are all real estate assets that we own, that you will own if you move ahead with an investment in the company. But we also own these service companies, whether it's rental and property management, the utility companies, other services companies. And we're going to look at each of these individually. But just as a snapshot, if you invest in ECI, this is largely what you're going to own. There are other assets of the company as well that we'll get to. We talk about community. Community is a wonderful thing. Community is the ability to get together with people who share common philosophies, ideals, this adventurous soul that we have. And that's a unique selling proposition. That is something that sets our company apart from the vast majority of other developers in the region who are building condos or homes and selling them and not really building community. We have been able to build community, true community. And when that happens, something magical happens. And it involves more than the homes and the condos. It involves building things like golf courses, tennis courts, yoga workout facilities, bars, restaurants. It means that the people who are in the community decide to have their own events, and they get together and play games or have a Thanksgiving dinner or start a bridge club or start a little jam group and start playing music every Tuesday night, I think, at Grand Pacifica. So, I mean, these are the things that really mean community are happening when people are beginning to get together because they see the enjoyment of being around other people who live near them. That's the hallmark of community, and that's what we're delivering. Hey, Rachel, make a note. This slide definitely needs to be updated.
It sure does.
My goodness, I think we've got about 40 or 50 homes under construction right now, and plus some condos in Belize. And so, yeah, we definitely have to update this. Anyway, lots of construction going on, lots of good things going on. This is really, really happening. I always like to tell the story of how I ended up in Nicaragua. This is my wife, Carol, my little daughter, Emily. This picture was taken back in 2002. We moved to Nicaragua for what we thought would be, 2-3 years to get our Grand Pacifica project started. At the end of 3 years, we'd put the team together. We'd hired a chief operating officer. Things were rolling. And Carol and I went out to dinner, and we'd had another little daughter came along, Emily, in the meantime. And we really thought about whether we wanted to move back to the States or not. And it was actually a pretty easy decision. We enjoyed being expats. We decided to stay a while longer, and a while was 11 more years. And we actually ended up living in Nicaragua as expats for 14 years because the quality of life was phenomenal. My family, her family came to visit for long vacations. We didn't really miss family. We'd go home for 2-3 weeks at a time and see our families. And our daughters were engaged in incredibly wonderful, wholesome activities like Girl Scouts. I mean, people don't think Girl Scouts in Nicaragua. Yeah, Girl Scouts in Nicaragua. They were in dance programs. I indoctrinated them to be Steeler fans, of course, coming from Pittsburgh. So, we lived in many ways this great life, a high quality life that cost a third of what that same lifestyle would cost in the United States. And it was truly, truly a wonderful experience. And so because I've lived that experience as an expat, I can bring that experiential knowledge to who we are as a company and how we develop. And that is really important for rolling out future communities that meet the needs of expats who want to enjoy this quality of life. And we talk a lot about quality of life, by the way, because at the end of the day, even if you're buying an investment property, you're buying a condominium for investment, the whole point of the investment is that people will come and rent it. Well, if you deliver the incredible quality of life experience, vacation experience to the people who are renting it, then you're going to have lots more renters. So the foundational element of the best investment is the highest quality of life experience. So a lot of this presentation is about quality of life, and it should be, because that's the delivery, that's the deliverable to the consumer, right? Even as an investment product, that's what we have to deliver to make our investment valuable and viable in the marketplace. I want to go back in time just a little bit to when I was in the computer business. I graduated from college in 1986. I got into the PC side of the business. And quite honestly, from 1986 through the mid 90s, it was a revolutionary time in the computer business. You had these things called PCs, personal computers. Nobody in the basement of the big bank buildings where the mainframes were kept, or the universities, thought that these PCs would amount to anything. The mainframes were going to last forever. Well, here we are, 35, 40 years later, and there's nary a mainframe to be found anywhere. And PCs are everywhere. In fact, PCs are now, held in our hands, right? So the point is this was a revolutionary time in the computer business. And on the mainframe side of things, most companies simply went out of business. On the PC side of things, millionaires and billionaires were made. Waves of change are incredible waves of opportunity. And, the same thing happened in the development business back in the 60s and 70s. This gentleman, Del Webb, came along, and he really was a genius in many ways. I think the three biggest ways that he expressed his genius in the marketplace was he understood demographics, right? He was a developer in the southwest part of the United States, and he said to himself, you know what? There are going to be a whole bunch of retirees in the 70s and 80s, the greatest generation, the parents of the baby boomers, right? The greatest generation. There are going to be a whole bunch of these people who are retiring. And when they retire, they're going to want to live in the warm weather, right? He understood demographics. So he bought this giant piece of property outside Phoenix, Arizona, and he built the very first Sun City, right? Anticipating that lots of people would want warm weather retirement. And guess what? He was right. Lots of people did. And the place sold out, and he had to buy some more land. And one of the reasons the place sold out was his second stroke of genius was that when people left their jobs, if they were retiring, right, they left their church, they left their friends, they left their clubs, their sporting events, whatever it was, and they moved someplace new. They want to make new friends. They need to make new friends because friendships are foundational to quality of life. And so he built physical infrastructure that allowed true community to happen. He understood the importance of true community. But the third stroke of genius, I think, was by far the most important, because a lot of people got number one and number two right, but nobody else in the 70s and 80s got number three right. And what he understood was that not everybody wanted to live in the desert of Arizona, right? Some people wanted to live in Texas, California, Florida, the Piedmonts of the Carolinas. And so he took his concept and he rolled it out into other geographies and other geographic locations to give consumers the choice of where they wanted to live. Brilliant strategy. And the marketplace rewards well-executed genius. We sold Del Webb, the Sun City brand, to Pulte for $1.8 billion. Again, the genius was well executed and the marketplace rewarded it. Well, what I find flabbergasting truly is that when you go to Latin America, we are the only development company that's working in multiple jurisdictions serving a middle-class client. We are now throughout the region with El Salvador coming online next week. We're going to talk about that. Mexico coming online later this year, and properties in Argentina and Ecuador to happen sometime in the next couple years. So again, serving people throughout the region, letting people choose the geography where they want to live. And this idea of serving the middle class, this is a typical income distribution in the United States taken from the Social Security Administration. Most developers want to play in that space right there. They want to play in the top 5%, right? The really, really wealthy people. They want to build stuff that, they can write home to mom about, that might show up on the cover of Architectural Digest magazine. Well, there's a saying, if you want to impress your friends, buy a fancy Park Avenue restaurant. If you want to make a lot of money, buy a Chick-fil-A. And that's what we've done. We've said, you know what? We want to be the Chick-fil-A in the development business in Latin America. Let other people serve, the top, 5%. We want to serve the middle chunk that's the biggest segment of the population. And it's also the segment that's largely ignored and way underserved. And we've been doing this for 25 years now. Part of the formula is to work with somebody like KeyBank. Full disclosure, I'm one of the founders. I'm on the board and on the management committee. But being able to provide financing to people who want to own a home overseas, middle-class consumers who might not have $150,000, but they might have $50,000 to put down as a down payment, and they need to borrow the rest, right? So we work with people like KeyBank to make that possible for the middle-class consumer. Just like Del Webb understood the demographics of the greatest generation, the boomers' parents, the boomers themselves are an incredibly huge generation. 93 million between Canada and the US. It's only a third of the population. However, if you look at the spending and the wealth, it's 3/4, 2/3 or more of the wealth of the country, represented by 1/3 of the population. So very, very wealthy generation. And here's what's happening. Every day for the next 16 years, 11,500 US and Canadian baby boomers are retiring. Every day, 11,500. And many of them are going to want warm weather retirement. And yes, many of them are going to end up in Arizona, Florida, Texas, right? If they can afford it. But, a lot of folks, in fact, 1 out of 10, 11.6% of the people are seriously considering owning property overseas. So every day, 1,000 people who retire, boomers that retire, are part of the segment who are saying, you know what, maybe I want to go a little further than Florida. I want to look at a place in Mexico, Belize, Ecuador, Argentina, wherever it might be. So this is the demographic that we are serving. And if you look at the Canadian data, it's actually stronger, 45%. So roughly half of Canadians plan to spend a month or more outside of Canada every year. And I would bet it's every winter. Surveys are great. Surveys are interesting. Surveys are what people might do, think they could do. But what's actually more important is to look at what people are actually doing right now. And today, over 8 million expats live outside the United States and Canada, and 613,000 of those folks are retirees. So this trend is happening, it is growing, and it's growing quickly. And, we talk about the baby boomers, right? But the COVID situation, the pandemic, the response to the pandemic has driven a whole new generation of people to begin looking overseas. It is the digital nomads. These are the young folks who already work from their laptops and have been working from their laptops for 10 years. Well, now their employers have given them permission to work from home, right? They had to work from home. And guess what? Productivity went up in most cases. And so the employers love it. And does the employer really care if the person's working from home in Washington, D.C. or St. Louis, Missouri, or if home is Belize or Mexico or Costa Rica? They don't. And again, this is a whole new generation of folks that we are now serving with our tiny home products. So very, very exciting. The quality of life is phenomenal. The cost of food, services, inexpensive. Medical care is tremendous. And again, very, very inexpensive. And something that we pay attention to, again, not for the younger folks necessarily, but for the folks who want to age in place, are things like ramped curbs so that people can move from street to sidewalk, sidewalk to street, and get around a community in a wheelchair, or a young person breaks their hip. I mean, we've got some great surf places, and all of a sudden somebody's immobile in a wheelchair at the age of 30, right? It's important to be able to get around the community as well. These are the kinds of things that we pay attention to. And being in the community is more than just hanging out with your friends. It's getting involved in doing things. And we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about that later too. I'd like to look at the region, and I've put countries on here with what I call the popularity curve. How did I put the various places on here? I just simply said to myself, where would someone from Shepherdstown, West Virginia, where I'm living right now, where would someone from Shepherdstown or St. Louis or Austin, Texas, where would they be likely to go on their honeymoon? Well, if you look at the bottom, you got a country like Honduras, you got Nicaragua, right? Not many people taking their honeymoons there. They're not very popular, right? On the other hand, lots of people going to Costa Rica, Cancun, right? It's very popular. Well, the interesting thing is that, this popularity or unpopularity has a lot to do with the price of real estate, and it has a lot to do with cash flow. So we're going to look at a couple examples that we own, and what you'll see, please pay attention, is that we own properties the whole way up and down this curve. We own properties that are not very popular, large properties. So as over time they become more popular, the price of that real estate goes up, the value of that real estate goes up. And we own properties in places that are far more popular, that cash flow today. So let's start with Nicaragua, our Grand Pacifica community. I talked about a large property. The Grand Pacifica property is 3.5 miles long on the beach. It's a mile deep. It's 2,500 acres. We've built a golf course, restaurants, streets, water. We built neighborhoods. This was just 11, 12 years ago, a cattle pasture. Now it's actually a village by the sea. And over the next 12 months, the number of homes will nearly double, and the number of full-time residents will more than double. So again, creating a real community there. And we talk about who we serve, the price points. Okay, I mean, a small 1,000 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath home, $139,000. An oceanfront condominium, $139,000 to $179,000. 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath home, $250,000, all the way up to some larger homes right around $500,000. But again, serving the middle class. The other thing we do is we do agricultural investments. I know Rachel has a whole series of presentations and a lot of information about teak. If you own shares of ECI, you also own the teak plantations that we're developing at Grand Pacifica. We have a lot of land, 2,500 acres. We've carved off a bunch of this land for teak plantations. And as we sell those plantations, you as a shareholder get those benefits, the ones that we keep, and we do keep a lot of the teak. Those harvest proceeds will roll back to Grand Pacifica and then roll up to ECI for share distributions. Again, lots of folks that are very, very wealthy owning agricultural investments. Teak is what we've focused on. And so again, if you're an ECI shareholder, you will be a teak owner at Grand Pacifica. Costa Rica, again, climbing up the curve, a little more popular than, say, Nicaragua. We own a very, very large piece of property, 1.8 miles of Caribbean coastline and 1,100 acres. So again, a country or part of a country that's not particularly popular. As the popularity of this country grows, the value of our asset grows as well. This project will roll out after we take the company public. It will be a marina community. Panama, much higher on the scale, as you can see, a very, very popular country. Everybody knows Panama, the canal. Many people have lived there as expats. They served in the military and rotated through Panama at some point in their career. We have property on the beach with Leif and Kathy, Leif Simon, Kathy Petticord at Los Islotes. We have property in the Highlands that we own 100% of, and that's the springtime, all the time climate. On the beach, 750 acres, beautiful, beautiful home sites that look out over the Pacific Ocean, simply stunning and spectacular. In the Highlands, a different community. Again, the weather is cooler. It's a coffee growing region. The architecture blends with that. We were able to acquire just about a year ago a property that already had infrastructure put in, the roads, all the conduits for water and electric are in place. We're rolling out the first community, which is the tiny home community there. I think, Rachel, we had 19 offered, and I think 16 were sold right out of the gate. So I'm not sure if we have any left there or not. But anyway, the market said we like what you're doing and rewarded us with a sellout of the entire first phase, or almost all the first phase. This idea of tiny homes, by the way, has done very, very well for us. Again, serving a different demographic, folks who understand that when you live in the tropics, you actually live outside most of the time. Tiny home, maybe cozy home, but lots of outdoor space, so that you're really only paying for and air conditioning the space that you would use to sleep effectively. And the rest of the time you're going to be outside on your patio, on your rooftop. And so again, this is an incredible concept that has seen and just incredible traction in the marketplace. Belize, where we got our start many, many years ago, sits in the sweet spot of this curve. It's popular enough that we see a lot of honeymooners. We see a lot of traffic coming through the country from a tourist perspective. But the prices of property haven't gotten anywhere near what they are in Panama or Costa Rica or Mexico. So kind of a sweet spot. And again, lots of people coming because lots of people have a great time. This idea of quality of life or quality of vacation experience. The thing about TripAdvisor is it's not editorial. It's people who come there and have a great time and go online to say what a great time they had. Again and again and again, Ambergris Caye Belize ranks very, very high in TripAdvisor. We own the Best Western franchise on the island of Ambergris Caye. The first 54 residences are in place: the pool, the tennis courts, the workout facility. The first 4 buildings are sold out. I think our 5th building, which is under construction right now, is likewise sold out. And Rachel and her team are working on pre-sales of the 6th building at the moment. But again, Best Western, this idea of being in the sweet spot of the curve where you're moving from a niche market that mom and pop hotels, serious divers, serious fishermen, not a whole lot of families even just 10 years ago. Today, lots of families, mainstream tourists looking for a branded hotel product to be their choice. Again, great programming. If you're looking for a property investment, that might be one to consider. Another one to consider would be the Marriott franchise, owning a residence. And these are whole ownership, by the way. If you own it, you get title to it, it's yours. And so it's an incredible opportunity to own a residence. In this case, a Marriott oceanfront residence. The announcements are out. The product's being ordered right now. The funding is done. This Marriott is under development. The one thing that I want to point out, and please pay attention to this. A lot of times developers, develop a condominium project and they tell you all the great return on investment that you can expect from it, and then turn around and sell 100% of the condos, right? And a lot of times the percents, 10, 12, 15%, like, hey, buy my condo, you're going to make 15%. I mean, I see this stuff all the time. My question to that developer immediately would be, wow, 15%, that's phenomenal. How many of these are you keeping? I think that's the right question to ask, because I want every bit of 15% I can get. I think most of us on this call do, right? Well, in this case with the Marriott, we, ECI, and if you become a shareholder, that means you too, ECI is keeping at least 60% of the residences because we want the cash flow. Yes, 40% of the residences, somewhere around 70 of them, there are 202 keys. So around 70 of the residences are being offered for private sale, but 135, 140 of them are staying with us because we want the cash flow that they will produce for us. And if you ever want to see any information about it, let us know. Incredible cash flow from these Marriotts for us as ECI investors. And if you're one of the folks who picks up one of the 70 private residences, the same thing can be true for you as well. Again, coming back to this concept of quality of life, engaging in the larger community, finding significance and creating legacy in our lives, right? This is really important for all of us. And as we get older, I think it becomes more and more important because success is what we do for ourselves. Significance and legacy is what we do for others. And one of the things that we as an organization have been able to do and feel very fortunate is find ways to help people find and create significance and legacy and meaning in their lives in the communities where we operate, whether it's environmental programs, turtle programs, beach cleanups, sustainable gardens, working with the local children to create gardens in their communities, digging water wells, creating water systems, water purification, health programs, business programs, or simply what one of our residents at Grand Pacifica did. He bought 10 guitars and started teaching 10 kids how to play guitar once a week. So again, lots of ways to engage. And these are the things that again, create legacy, meaning, and significance. And we're able to help folks achieve that as residents and guests, even in our properties and communities. So let's get to one of the fundamentals, which is why you might want to own shares and why right now is a good time to do that. We are expanding, we are growing, and we're going to talk about what that looks like. We've covered to this point who we are and what we've done. I want to talk about where we're going in the next very short period of time, the next couple years, but we're going to be more specific on some of these as well. These two acquisitions, something in a vineyard community and something in Ecuador, we anticipate in 2022 to have those completed. We were close to acquiring a vineyard property a couple years ago. The deal fell apart at the last moment. We had other opportunities, the Panama opportunity come onto the plate, which was great, the Highlands, the springtime, all the time. But there are many people who want to live in a vineyard environment. They want this. I mean, they live in California or wherever, or the Okanagan Valley up in Canada, and they've decided, I'd really love to have a vineyard home in retirement. And if you can write a check for, $3, $4, $5 million, go buy one in Canada or the Okanagan, right? But if you can write a check for 300, 400, 500,000, you're not going to find one up there, but you can find that in Argentina. And we're going to develop a community that gives people the option to live in that environment for 10 cents on the dollar, and then have a quality of life they could never imagine: eating organic, having service help to clean the home and take care of the gardens for a few $100s a month. Again, quality of life enhancement, cost of living much less. Ecuador, same thing. The geography there is beautiful, and we'll be looking for something in a very, very affordable destination for our clients who are at the lower end of middle class, right? Somebody with an income of $1,000, $1,200 a month in Social Security can live very, very, very well in Ecuador. And again, I don't know how well they will live in the US, but certainly in Ecuador, their lifestyle will be phenomenal. Let's talk about Mexico. Mexico is later this year into first quarter of next year. It's in and around the area of Puerto Vallarta. It's not on the water. We've identified two properties. One is in the foothills of the Sierra Madres, which we will be talking about in November, December of this year. The other is in Mascota, which is a valley over the first ridge of the Sierra Madres. This little town of Mascota, it's an agricultural community, has been for 300 years. We've identified a couple properties there that are just spectacular. These are some of the views of the property. And again, this is something we're going to roll out Mascota Q1 of next year. Both of these properties are within 90 minutes of the airport in Puerto Vallarta. So easy to get to in Mexico, and exciting destinations for folks that are looking for that. Again, just some great activities in and around the two spots that we found. The opportunity I want to talk about tonight and spend the most time on, which is very much right now, is the opportunity in El Salvador. So we as a company have been accepting crypto for about 4 years. We announced it about 4 years ago. I think we did our first crypto transaction about 3 years ago. And we've transacted several $1 million in crypto now. And because we did that, we got to be known in the crypto space and in the Bitcoin space. And we were invited to participate and speak at a conference in Miami in June. It was the Bitcoin conference. About 12,000, maybe 12,500 folks attended it. And during that event, the government of El Salvador announced that they had just passed a law to make Bitcoin legal tender in El Salvador on September 7th. That's the date that it takes effect. Well, I was at the conference. We'd done our speaking. We're hanging out at the booth. I was approached by a guy, Mike Peterson is his name, and he said, "Hey, I've got a piece of property in El Salvador, and would you guys be interested in looking at developing it with me?" And we talked, and I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And we traded some information, and over the next few weeks, we traded a bunch more information, and the property really checks out. It's a beautiful, beautiful property. And just at the end of week before last, myself, our design team, a couple of our engineers from our Grand Pacifica community went to El Salvador. We viewed the property. We all agreed that this was a spectacular addition to the ECI family. Starting at the macro level, ECI looks for certain things that are very, very important. Access to a country. Can you get there easily? Lots of direct flights from the United States and Canada to El Salvador. The capital gains, you can own title, all those things are fundamental. But the big driver in this case was this announcement that on September 7th, they were going to make the Bitcoin legal tender alongside the US dollar. Lots of people coming because it's a great climate. The waves are phenomenal for surfing. Just to give you an idea, the picture on the left, El Salvador is a country. San Salvador, just to the left of the word San Salvador, is the city of San Salvador. And then the airport, the little line, the yellow line, El Zonte, is on the beach about an hour away. So again, very, very close to the airport, close to San Salvador. The property specifically, you can see it on the right picture, is behind the town of El Zonte. It looks down and across the town out to the sea. These are views from the property. The three of them are then a view from the ocean back to where the property sits. This is a spectacular property. It's got incredible slope to it. Every property, every home, every condo on this property will have an ocean view. That is just how tremendous this property is. And we didn't really understand that until we got there and we walked it. And it is truly a tremendous property. Mike Peterson here with the arrow above his head started this organization called Hope House with his wife, Brittany, 15 years ago. Mike is a tremendous guy, has been working in the town of El Zonte, again, for 15 years, doing tremendous work in the community, helping to support it, grow it. He was the person who introduced Bitcoin specifically in the community as a transactional item. He got the stores to accept it. He had a donor who donated a lot of Bitcoin to be able to give the 500 families the coin to get started during the COVID crisis. He and his donor were able to give each of the 500 families about $30 a month in Bitcoin. Again, it's transactional. They would go to the store, they would buy their supplies and their food with it. And so what really happened was the national government of El Salvador looked at this and said, "Oh my gosh, this is incredible. We need to do the same thing at a national level." And that's exactly what has now happened. And it's all because Mike Peterson and his family, his wife and children have made El Salvador their home and have worked so hard in the community to create a better place. So again, this idea of the social responsibility and being a part of the community, it leads to wonderful things on the private sector side as well. Anyway, we had a great time. We walked the property. We got to know him and his wife. This thing has got a ton of buzz. It is being picked up in every kind of news magazine, every kind of business magazine. The idea that Bitcoin is becoming legal tender in a country for the first time ever is huge. It is bigger than huge. It's monumental. And we, because of what Mike Peterson did to build the foundation there, and then finding us at the Bitcoin conference, we are able to roll out a product offering on September 7th to largely the Bitcoin community. We will be offering it to our shareholders, our internal community as well. If you would like to be first to hear about it, along with the shareholders, please let us know. Make sure you send something in. We will make sure you hear about it on September 7th, the actual product launch, and Rachel and her team will have it ready to go. It's going to include luxury condos, vacation condos, home sites. We're going to have a few family compounds there as well, tiny homes. And then because of the sloping nature of the land, we're going to be able to do a series of earth-sheltered homes, again, with beautiful, beautiful views to the sea that create a very sustainable ecological environment. This is going to be powerfully and architecturally and aesthetically, they are spectacular. So we're pulling it all together. We're not ready to talk about pricing specifically yet, or even offer today any of the renderings. But if you want to see them, if you want to be first to hear about them, let us know. And so to wrap up here, ECI, and again, following this stroke of genius that Del Webb had, this idea of not everybody wants to live in Belize, right? Which is where we got started, which is where ECI bought its very first property back in 1998. We understood that not everybody wants to live in Belize, and so we've grown our company. We've been able to offer people two properties on the Caribbean, two properties on the Pacific Ocean, Highlands property today. El Salvador will be a property with incredible ocean views in the country of El Salvador to serve largely a very excited Bitcoin community. The properties in Mexico are going to be eco-sustainable communities, again, delivering something that offers the resiliency that so many people in the marketplace are looking for today. And then expanding into Ecuador for the affordability, and Argentina for the vineyard communities that so many people are looking for. So this idea of being able to serve people where they want to own, where they want to live, is foundational and fundamental to who we are as a company. So we're going to rattle off really quick some of the reasons that you might want to own shares of our company. And it really boils down to these four things. We've been around for now 25 years. We have an incredible team of people. Many of our people have been with us for more than a decade, and we've institutionalized the knowledge, right? We run our business as a business. It's not a hobby. We've institutionalized knowledge. We've created processes, procedures, systems, and we're able to take those and we're able to leverage them very quickly to an opportunity like El Salvador, right? And that's because we have top-notch talent and we have the systems and processes and procedures that allow us to do exactly that. Some of the folks that started the company here, and then some of the folks in our team as well. Just a great, great group of people delivering the goods day in, day out operationally. Our team was about 90 folks at the end of last year. I guess this is an updated through August. I don't know what the head count is, but probably right around 100 folks who get the job done. Again, lots of people can sell stuff. Lots of people can talk about stuff, but it's really a whole different thing to be able to build homes, build condos, and deliver the lifestyle experience or the vacation experience that clients want. And we have been able to do that. We know how to do it. We are doing it. If you're an investor, a real estate investor, you understand the value of hard assets. Hard assets are real. They're tangible. Well, we own 4,000 acres in 4 countries, right? We're co-developing on another 40 acres in El Salvador. We own over 5 miles of beachfront property. This is real stuff that has real value. And if you're getting in today, if you want to invest today, you're standing on the shoulders of people who have carried us forward over the last 24 plus years now, slow conservative growth to get us to where we are, that we can move quickly to the next evolution. But proof of concept is in place. It's here, it works, we know it works, and we're duplicating it again right now in El Salvador. The one thing I would mention here, and we're going to talk about it at the end as well, is as we add new assets to the company, as the actual ground gets broken for this Marriott that is now funded, when that happens in the next few weeks, the share price will go up. When we announce and take reservations for property in El Salvador next week, the share price will go up. So please understand, when the company becomes more valuable, we raise the share price because people pay more for something that's more valuable. So please understand that. We have financials. If you're an accredited investor, fill out the non-disclosure agreement. We will send you the financials. You can see everything. We are transparent. The company is growing. It's growing quickly. Again, this year looks phenomenal. We're already having our best year ever halfway through the year. And we've got a great pipeline coming into 2022 as well. Again, this idea of why right now? Well, again, slow conservative growth to build the asset base, to build the team, to build the systems, the processes, the procedures, the templates, to build the templates so that when someone like Mike Peterson approaches me 2.5 months ago and says, hey, I got this property in El Salvador, and on September 7th, they're going to make Bitcoin legal tender. Do you think we could develop something there and roll it out so that we could beat a market with something in 2.5 months? And my answer was, I don't know, but let me find out. And I went back to our team, and because we had the institutionalization of this knowledge in our systems and our procedures, we had templates. We could take them, and we could take them to El Salvador, and we could put them on that land and make it unique and special. And I've already seen the designs. It's coming. It's beautiful. It's awesome. And so why would you want to own shares of our company right now? Because we're about to go into mega fast growth to get us ready to go public when we get to go to the whole next level. So again, if this is something you want to do, please act on it soon. Get something over to Rachel, get a form completed. We'll send you the information. We'll send you the NDAs, the Salvador property, the Marriott groundbreaking. All of these things increase the value of the company. All of these things indicate a share price increase. Again, we're working on the Marriott. We're clearing the site prep. We're ordering the materials. This is happening right now as well. The stock today is 1760. Again, something you want to do, get back to us right away. If you're not accredited, thank you for joining the presentation. I hope you know a lot more about the company. I hope you feel a lot more comfortable that if you decide to own a home or a condo with us and trust us with your investment, that we're going to do a great job of delivering the home or condominium to you. We're going to do a great job of delivering that lifestyle experience or the vacation experience if it's an investment. Again, thank you for joining us tonight and understanding better who we are and how we can serve you better. Milestones coming right now, the funding, the selling out of condos, all of these things have happened. And then obviously the most important things that are coming up are the joint ventures in El Salvador and the development of the 2 properties in Mexico. Again, recent acquisitions, 110 acres in the Highlands, the tiny homes, everything's working. We do accept crypto, by the way, as an investment. If you want to own shares and you want to invest using crypto, we will take it. We do take it. It's a great way to make investments in our company. We do have financing options for folks who want to own property. And if you want to make investments, whether it's in the shares of the company or ownership of a property, you can do that through a self-directed IRA. All right, Rachel Jensen, I think I finished up with a few minutes for Q&A. I thank everybody for joining us this evening. We had a tremendous number of folks on with us. I think we have some questions. I've seen people's hands going up and some red lights flashing. And Rachel, if you can come back on and maybe help me sort those out, and we'll get to some of those.
Sure. And before we get to those questions, I quickly want to give a couple of updates about some of the properties that I know some of you have been tuning into over the last few months, last year, for some of you for the last few years. And so right now with the tiny homes in Belize, there are 20 in the first phase. Those are all sold. They are under construction, and we are anticipating opening at the end of this year, early next. We will be launching a second phase of tiny homes in Belize. It's a really neat concept, over the water concept. We will have some on land, some over the water. So we will be introducing those hopefully by the end of this year. We're just going through permitting and approvals. Also in Nicaragua, with regards to the tiny homes, Mike mentioned to you that there are many under construction right now. We have about 50-ish homes under construction. Another 20, 25 that are sold. And then from there, we have about another 20 that are available for private ownership, should folks be looking at tiny homes in Nicaragua. And Nicaragua is a country that's become very popular over the last year and a half, because it really has attracted a group of freedom lovers, people who prefer to think for themselves and really regard their own health and want to be able to make their own decision when it comes to their health. And this is really pertaining to how Nicaragua handled COVID. So for those folks, we are seeing this huge traction in Nicaragua for the tiny homes located about a quarter mile, 4 or 5 minute walk to the beach, Asachio Beach, which is a beautiful Pacific water beach. So if you're interested in the tiny homes there, do let us know. Also Honduras, you maybe are looking for a tiny home on the Caribbean water. You're not really wanting to wait for a beautiful home on the Caribbean, then Honduras could be the right option for you. That's across the bay, which I know a lot of people have heard about. And then also Panama, Mike mentioned Panama before. There are 24 homes in that first phase. 19 of them are currently reserved. So there are about 5 more at this point available for private ownership. So, I mean, that's a quick overview of the tiny homes. Sorry, I don't have the slides there, but these are the quick overview of the tiny homes. Also in Nicaragua, we've understood that some people are looking for larger homes. So we have the Bello models, 2 or 3 bedrooms right there on the Pacific waters. Also 2 3-bedroom models that are not on the Pacific waters, but don't necessarily have those beachfront prices associated with them. So you're able to get in starting at about $150,000. We have a lot of this in more detail. Our team does about an hour webinar for each of our products. So as you hear anything that's of interest, you just feel free to reach out and our team will send you over those details pertaining to the special projects. But I know this webinar was really focused on the projects that were coming up, the opportunities that were coming up. Obviously, El Salvador is huge right now. We had our team there 2 weeks ago. We have another group of us going on Sunday for a few days. So you'll be having an exclusive debut of the Grand Zante project in El Salvador on next Tuesday, September 7th at 5 p.m. Eastern. If you would like to join us for that webinar, just reach out to us. And the best email address, I saw a couple throughout the presentation, but write this down. The best email address to get in contact us is webinar@ecidevelopment.com, webinar@ecidevelopment.com, and we'll get those details over to you. But with that being said, I saw a lot of awesome questions come in, so we do want to get through those. Mike, one of the questions, and I saw this actually pop up a couple of times, is about Ecuador. I know you mentioned that it's a little bit further down the pipeline, but can you give people a little bit more overview as to when you expect Mexico to come online, and just a little bit more about that project? I know you mentioned it a bit, but I did see quite a few questions come in about Mexico.
Sure. So there are 2 properties in Mexico that we're looking at. The one that we had pictures of here is the Mascota property. That one's going to take a little bit longer to bring to market. It's actually 3 separate properties that'll have to be joined and then get various land use changes. It's an agricultural area, and so getting land use changes, zoning changes for that word. Anyway, so we're anticipating ownership sometime in Q1, and then depending on the permitting, rezoning process, it could be all the way through the middle end of next year before we would have actual product for sale there. The other community that is there in Mexico is in the foothills. It is a spectacular, about 1,600 acre forested property. It has a beautiful river running for about 1.5 kilometers along one border. It's got mountains. It is truly a spectacular forested property. That one's already zoned and permitted for about 500 addresses. We plan to, I have a call with the owner of that property week after next. We're going to be moving into discussions about what that structure of ownership would look like, and then rolling it out. Probably have product available for folks to look at towards the end of this year, softly, then actually making reservations for product in Q1 of next year. So I don't know if that was helpful or answered the question or not, Rachel.
Sure. And at this point, it is still fairly general. We will have more specifics to you all as that information becomes more available. Also, depending on when you're listening to this presentation, do understand that sometimes different priorities pop up. For example, this El Salvador project, where I could tell you earlier on in the beginning of the year, I would say El Salvador wasn't quite on our radar, but then when the announcement came out that the country was going to accept Bitcoin as legal tender, of course, it entered our radar. We wanted to be able to offer folks who believe in crypto and believe in the Bitcoin market a place to go to be with other like-minded folks. And as Mike mentioned, community is really the core of our organization, and we thrive on building communities for you and for your friends and for your other like-minded individuals. So that is the estimate at this point, early 2022, but it may change. It may change up a little bit, but just contact us, of course, when the time is ready for you to start looking at opportunities seriously. All right, the next question I'm seeing here is from Cheryl. Well, hello, Cheryl. I hope you're doing well. Cheryl is asking, what is involved with an agricultural investment?
Rachel, you're actually far better to answer that question than I am. I will answer it that I'm a huge fan of it. I planted my first teak plantation back in 1999, 100 acres. A few investors and I got together. We bought a farm. We planted 100 acres of teak because we understood that that agricultural investments, while the timeline for cash flow is longer, it is a cash flow investment. It's just in the case of teak, it's a 25-year cycle. But the assets are phenomenally stable. The marketplace for teak, it's been a wood that's been sold as a commodity for 250, 300 years now. It's been grown in plantations for that same period of time. So again, we looked at it and we saw, wow, I mean, this is a great product that we like it for a lot of reasons. We bought the land, hired a forestry company, we planted the plantation. That's one way to do it. It's it's certainly possible. I did it. I can tell you that it's a lot of work. Ownership of smaller parcels is a heck of a lot easier. We took that original plantation and we chopped up about 2/3, 3/4 of it and sold that. We've since purchased additional 15-year-old teak, 14-year-old when we bought it. It's 15 now. We have land that we're planting baby teak on, and both Panama and Nicaragua. So for folks who are looking to own agricultural investment like teak, we've made it pretty easy for folks to do. Rachel has all the information. She's got the business plans and other things that you would certainly want to look at, and then a process to, again, make it simple and easy to do.
Of course. And I do want to mention that the properties are full title ownership. It may be a little bit different in Mexico just based on our location to the water. For those of you who've been looking at Mexico, you do know that as a foreigner, you cannot get title to property that's within a certain kilometer distance from the water, from the coast. So do bear with us as we finalize which properties we'll be developing on, and do realize that it may be fideicomiso, which isn't uncommon there, but just a little bit different than how we typically structure our real estate with ECI. So it is full title ownership for the teak and also for the real estate. Yes, go ahead, Mike.
So I was going to say that the teak ownership is fully titled. You own the land.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You own the land, you own the trees, right?
Exactly. All right. This is a good question from Anthony. Anthony, you know, you've been following us for a while, maybe 5, 6, probably even more years than that. But Anthony is saying, is ECI ever going to open up investment in the company itself to non-accredited investors?
Anthony, thank you for asking. The answer to that is we will once we're a public company, and at that point, anybody and everybody can buy and sell shares of the company. Until then, it is restricted to accredited investors.
Yes, awesome. So William here is asking, is there a secondary market for the pre-IPO shares? The IPO exchange are you looking at, and who is it underwritten by? I know we don't have all those answers right now, but give them your best shot there, Mike.
Sure. So William, there is no secondary market. There is no liquidity. That's all very clearly spelled out in the paperwork. And assuming that you were interested in owning shares, we would get on the phone together. I always talk to every single person who's interested in owning stock in our company, and we go over that particular element very, very clearly. We are in the process of finding a law firm. I think we've identified the law firm that we're going to use to help to represent us and to help us take the company public. We have not hired them, so I'm not going to disclose who they are at this point, but that process has started. Underwriters will be something that they largely determine, because of their expertise.
Awesome. So next question here is from Carl, and he's asking, is your company the property manager for these properties? If so, how do you market the properties?
In many cases, yes. In a lot of cases, no. We are not exclusive. The one caveat to that will be Best Western today, and then in the future, Marriott. If you own one of the Best Western studios or the Marriott residences, you'll have two options. One, you own it, you have title to it, you can live in it, you can lock it up and use it. If you want to rent it, you must use the Marriott management company, which is actually a third-party company. Marriott recommended to do the operations and management. And with Best Western, same thing. If you're in the program, you must use the Best Western program. But in our other properties, there is no exclusive. Folks do Airbnb it. We do.
Oh, Mike, we did change that recently. Sorry, just for the continuation and consistency factor with the properties, it is exclusive through our rental management company. We have experience there. We understand what the market is looking for. People can still rent it on Airbnb or advertise it on Airbnb and get the rental in, and then work with our property manager. But what we've realized is most people are not planning to live there on site. And if you're trying to manage your property from afar, it just creates a lot of confusion. This has happened previously where guests get to the property. It was an Airbnb at one point. They don't know where the check-in is. Do note that our properties are resort communities. It's not a standalone house, or it's not a singular property. It is amongst a resort and a community. So sorry, Mike, to cut you off there, but I did want to make that very clear.
Thank you for the folks. Thank you for the clarification. The management is
because there has been some confusion previously.
But folks are still free to market it themselves on Airbnb and any other methodology they choose.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yes, exactly. All right. Sorry for cutting you off there. I don't like to do that, but I don't want folks to get confused. But do note that there's a reason behind this. There's a method to the madness. And it has been based on the experience of us being in the marketplace for the last, Belize for the last 25 years, and in Nicaragua for the last 15.
Rachel, when I am unclear or wrong, cut me off. So yes. Yep.
You bet. You had 99.9%, Mike. You got it. So you're doing really well here. The other one is here from Mohammed, and this is a really great question because it is something that does come up a lot. It's about due diligence, people being scared to put their savings in projects that are overseas. And here there's a mention of a property in Belize that didn't end up going through. And he says, what assurance will you give us that our money will be safe?
Mohammed, there is no assurance that your money will be safe. Let me be just straight up and clear. I don't know that there's any assurance that your money is safe when you invest in a project in the US. I mean, you buy a condo and the developer goes bankrupt, or you buy a home. So there's no assurance ever. The reality is that you have to do your own due diligence. You have to do really, really good due diligence. And I recognize the fact that going overseas, it is challenging because we don't know what we don't know. And we actually produce a document that I hope every single person on this webinar requests. It's called the Consumer Resource Guide. It's got 15 questions that we should ask when we buy property overseas. That if people ask those questions, most, almost all of the sad stories would disappear. I think Mohammed, the things that you can do is if I were you, I would look at track record. I would say, how long have they been around? We've been around for 25 years. Well, maybe you're comfortable with somebody that's been around for 5 years or 8 years. I personally would like to see somebody who started before the great, recession, depression, whatever, of 2008 to 2012, right? If somebody made it through that period, they're probably a player, and you could count on them for longevity. But maybe that's your standard. Maybe it's not. That would probably be one of my standards. I would ask to see a copy of their financials, right? Hey, let me see your financials, right? I want to know that you're financially strong, right? Talk to people, look at their team. That's another big thing, right? If you hear folks talking about what we're going to do, we're gonna, and then you say, well, where are all these people who are gonna do what it is you say you're going to do? I mean, if you come to Belize or Nicaragua to our Grand Pacifica offices, you'll literally see, 90 some people, working to do what it is that we said we were going to do. So the answer, Mohammed, is there is no guarantee. There's never a guarantee. The thing that you can do is increase the chances of it working out well for you by doing incredible due diligence. And we've got some tools that will help you do that, whether you're looking at our properties or somebody else's properties. Rachel, did you freeze? All right. Well, I think Rachel froze up. So, Michael Fuller, are you on this call? Can you help, or maybe we're done?
Mike, yes, I am on. So I'm going through the questions here. One of the questions comes from Reginald asking about Los Islotes, okay, and the project happening there. If you could elaborate a little bit more on that.
Sure. We have a 10% ownership interest in that project. The development responsibilities are, largely Leif Simons, and he's been doing a tremendous job. I believe the first 4 homes are now complete. I think 2 or 3 of them are being lived in full time. It's a tremendous community, tremendous property. So I don't know what the specific question was, but the best thing to do there would be just send an email to us and let one of our property consultants answer any specific questions you might have. But yeah, people living there full time now, and very exciting.
Sorry about that, guys. I think I got cut off there. I think Mike was done with me talking over him. So we'll just get down to the last couple. Actually, there's a lot of questions here, but what I think the best thing will be is for property consultants to be in touch with you. Mike had a slide before with the different property consultants on the team. So do expect to hear from them if we don't get through all of your questions. But I'm just going through. I see Io. Look, Mike, Io met you back in 2007 in Panama, and he's on the line here. So Io, glad that you're able to join us. This is from Giacomo. He says, what are the cryptos accepted other than Bitcoin? I can answer that one. That's Bitcoin, Monero, Ethereum, USDT, and obviously Bitcoin. So we accept 5 at this point. We have a facilitator that helps us with the transaction there, and then you're able to move forward with the transaction. I think crypto, Bitcoin is doing quite well. So now it's a good time to take out some of that profits and invest it in something overseas, get that hard asset. All right, so I'm seeing more questions here. How does the company finance its real estate developments? For that, we do work, and Mike mentioned this a little bit earlier in the presentation, we work with a bank based here in Belize, Key Bank, CAYE, and they fund up to or finance up to 80%, 80% for properties that are being sold by ECI development. If it's a resale, we cannot guarantee that rate because ECI is not the owner, is not the one selling that property. It would be different, but that is for ECI owned properties. Also, I'm seeing a lot of questions here about getting the accredited investor package. After this webinar, you're going to receive the recording, and you're also going to receive an email which has the recording in there. In addition to that, it's going to have an accredited investor questionnaire. We do need to get that accredited investor questionnaire from you in order to send you the details, to send you the financials, to send all of that great information that Mike was mentioning. So we do want to make sure we get that back from you. If for some reason you don't get that email in the next few hours, please check your spam. We do have a tendency, because we send a lot of emails, a lot of information, a lot of links. We do sometimes land in spam. So if you don't see that, I'd say in the next 2-3 hours, just feel free to reach out to us, webinar@ecidevelopment.com. We'll see what's going on there and make sure that you're getting all of the information. I'm seeing a lot of people here who are saying they'd like to attend the Tuesday webinar next week. We'll make sure your property consultant is sending you a link for that in order to register for the session. All right. I'm just seeing a lot of questions here that are a little bit specific to sales of specific properties, also for shares in the country, in the company. What we'll do is get that information over to you all. I mean, we could probably stay on the line here easily for another 45 minutes, but I'm sure you all have something better to do than sit here and listen to us talk. So Mike, any last thoughts, anything that you'd like to mention before we hop off here?
Just a big thank you to everybody who joined us this evening. We are here to help you make the kinds of investments that make sense for you. The property consultants that Rachel is mentioning, they really do a great job of listening, asking questions to make sure they understand what it is your goals and objectives are, and then making recommendations that best fit those. And if share ownership is something that you want to do, please do get that form back to us. And then Rachel specifically will be in touch. We'll send you over the information. You can review that. And if you do decide you want to move ahead, we'll get on the phone together, because it is important for me and you to have a conversation very specifically about, again, your goals, your objectives, your timelines. And we make sure that we're all on the same page with that. But yeah, very exciting times. Really, we've taken 25 years to get to where we are today. We expect to double the company in the next 2-3 years. And for folks who decide they want to get on board with that, it's going to be a very exciting and very likely a very lucrative time for all of us. So again, thank you. Look forward to hearing from you. And Rachel, thank you for putting this together this evening.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you to Michael, who's sitting here in the back end as well. But really appreciate everybody joining us at the end of the day. Truly, what it's about is building the ECI community. And it's been tremendous to see the progress of the organization. I haven't been around as long as you have, Mike, with ECI. It's been about 10 years, almost 10 years for me, but it's been really, I have to say, exciting and just fulfilling to be amongst the community like we're growing here. So thank you, Mike. This was awesome, folks. We look forward to hearing from you. And just one more reminder, we will send you that email in about 2 to 3 hours with the recording and with the questionnaire if you like more information about being a shareholder, as well as some other links to the projects. So, all right, everybody, have a great rest of your day, evening, and we look forward to being in touch with you. Bye-bye.